The world is on fire with passionate love. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Laid. This is a show that appeared on Peacock that was quite unexpected. It definitely said, and as advertised, it might be your newest addiction or your newest binge watch, and I watched it while I was sending out a lot of business-related emails, and I kept watching it. And I watched all episodes, and here's what I have to say. The show is pretty good, and I'm wondering if it could be better, and I sort of get the feeling like maybe this is one of those shows that should be one and done in a season. Because here's the thing, I'm going to have to get into heavy spoilers on this, but let me set up the basic premise of the show. Laid is about a main character who discovers that basically any person that she has been with is dying. And it's not like they're dying of a sexually transmitted disease. And it's very difficult to talk about this show without using terms like slut shaming or saying that this character is overly promiscuous or anything like that. I don't want to judge this main character, and I get the feeling like the show isn't really trying to judge this main character either. Because traditionally when you see characters like this in television and movies who essentially have a new sex partner every night, they are often viewed as very lonely people and not people that maybe you want to hang around with, but it feels like a character that you probably know and is probably doing this sort of thing. Now, I'm sure there are people that do live lifestyles like this, and I am not here to judge them on that, and I don't think I really should. And I don't think the show is really trying to be overtly judgmental of this main character. But think about things like Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother was kind of like this, but he kind of reveled in this thing. This main character here, played by Stephanie Sue, who you might recognize from Everything Everywhere All at Once, does a pretty good job of it. And it's also hard not to talk about this show without mentioning that it feels like it's almost sort of like, I feel like if the show came out decades earlier, we would see this as a metaphor for AIDS. This idea that you have sex with someone and they die later. And it's brought up on the show that, yeah, they're not dying of venereal diseases. Apparently these people die in just random ways. And we're talking like a foul ball to the face. One character gets shot, and it's done in a very gory manner that I kind of went like, I'm surprised this show went that hard on this. And it didn't, and I really felt like it really shouldn't have. This is one of those shows that is really trying to play around with heavy subject matter, but try to do it in a light way. And I don't really feel like it succeeds at that, because I feel like this is very heavy subject matter. These people are dying. And the fact that this character doesn't really feel the weight of the deaths on this, and the fact that they're somewhat partially responsible, sort of weighs in on that. They're not really going out of their way to show this character as being completely horrific and a horrible person. But I get the feeling like if this were to happen to me and I discovered that certain interactions with people somehow led to their death, I'm not really certain how it would respond to this, because it's not like I'm trying to kill these people. No, it just so happens that this thing is coincidentally causing them to die. And when that happens, it's kind of like, well, what can I do? Now, this is where I'm going to get into heavy spoiler territory on this, because eventually there actually is an explanation as to why this is happening. And this is one of those things where it's kind of like, I feel like this is a show that was pitched with this idea of a character who basically the people that they're having sex with die one at a time. And what's interesting about it is there actually is a pattern to it. This character has a roommate who's played by, I can't remember her name, but she was on the show Girls for a while. But yeah, they basically figure out like, okay, they're dying in the order in which you have been with them. And I'm kind of going like, okay, that's actually interesting. And these characters actually have kind of this murder board, you know, it has the thread and stuff like, or it has the yarn and the push pins and the photos and stuff like that, because it seems like this happens on a lot of these shows, that they make something like this as a visual aid. And to me, it's sort of an overdone trope, and I think the show even knows that it's an overdone trope. And the fact that it even has it on the title sequence is rather interesting, and it's rather one of the best title sequences I've seen in a while. And for an age where we're starting to see shows without title sequences, usually it's just a card drop and a few notes. But no, they actually go out of their way to have the theme song, which I just kind of sung at the beginning because I kind of rocked, actually. So here's the thing. This is one of those things in which, like, a character puts a hex on someone, and this is apparently the cause of this particular dilemma. And then, of course, the thing of, you know, when you do this, it's like, well, how do you undo the hex sort of thing? And here's the thing. I actually would have supported this thing if it turned out that this was just some completely random thing that was happening. It doesn't need an explanation. And I feel like sometimes, you ever seen the film Groundhog Day? How bad would that have been if there was an explanation for what was happening to Bill Murray's character? I felt like that didn't really need to happen. And I actually believe there was a script somewhere, or that the studio wanted the director to put in a scene where the character is, I don't know, visiting a fortune teller or something, and gets a hex put on them. And this feels like that was the note here for the show laid, because it's like, okay, we have a character here that actually makes sense why he puts this hex on someone. But to me, I kind of went like, oh, this is kind of one of those things. And then from there, they're trying to figure out how to undo the hex, because they have to, it's not a hex that can just be undone like, okay, it's gone, but it's like, no, you have to put it on someone else, which is, of course, I guess that's how black magic works. And there you actually have a conversation about who they can put it on. And I think it's actually good that the main character basically realizes, you know what, I don't think anyone should have this. I deserve to have this curse here, because I think it's going to show that, hey, if I'm spending time with someone, and just so I can have sex with them, maybe it's not really worth it, and they really want true love in their life. Now, the problem I have with this show is this main character is some sort of, I don't know, party planner or something, and they're working with a client who's having this 40th anniversary for their parents, and their parents have been happily married for apparently 40 years. The problem is this character starts getting very involved with this client to the point where they want to have a romantic relationship with him. But this client is already engaged. And the fact that they kind of, they just sort of like, he breaks off this engagement like a little bit too soon. We don't really see any repercussions from that. And I just felt like, and it's not like that the person he was breaking off with was a bad person. No, I felt like that was actually, they kind of went out of their way to show that the person he was engaged to was someone that was going out of their way to be a good person. And I kind of went like, why did you go that direction? I kind of felt like, and it feels like that they're trying to do things where they were doing, this character, the main character really wants a romantic plot line, like When Harry Met Sally or something like that. Something out of a rom-com or something like that. And this is sort of like, and she kind of gets her wish, but unfortunately she can't have it because she realizes, like, the moment I'm going to be with this man, he's going to die eventually. Oh, and also this main character sleeps with their roommate's boyfriend. Did I forget to mention that? Yeah, that did happen, and which means that sort of puts this whole, oh no, now her roommate's boyfriend is going to die because of the curse. So this is where I'm going to get into heavy spoiler territory, and obviously going to get into Season 2 territory. I don't know if Season 2 has been greenlit. It probably has. This show seems like it's a hit enough. Apparently, at the end of this show, the main character's father, who has been mentioned throughout the entirety of Season 1, just shows up at her door and basically says, I know what's been happening to you. It happened to me as well. So now I kind of feel like, so the hex was a whole red herring thing or something like that, or does it all work together? And I'm kind of going like, oh no, how much can they melt this out? And I'm really feel like this is one of those things that really shouldn't be melted out. That's the biggest problem that I have with this show, and it really should have been wrapped up by the end of its first season. I don't know if I'll even watch the second season, but hey, I think you might enjoy the first one.